Please.
Hey, bosses. Welcome to Boss Please. Hey, ladies. How are you?
Fabulous.
Good.
Did we all have a boss week?
We did.
How are you, boss Malynda?
Why do I have to start?
Okay, well,
We turned
Jill,
the tables.
how are you, boss?
You did turn the tables.
I was looking at you. That's why.
You were.
And I felt like switching it up a little bit.
Well, I think we should go back to Jill.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Clearly, Malynda needs to think on
Yeah,
it.
I do.
I'll give you some time to think. Don't worry about it. I had a birthday recently, my 29th birthday.
Woo, woo.
And for the first year, I kind of chose self-care over everything else. So I was a boss this week because I made myself a really extravagant spa appointment. I'm getting an 80-minute massage. I'm going to spend like 5 hours soaking in a sauna in a tub, and it's just going to be amazing, and I deserve it.
You
do.
definitely deserve
Absolutely.
And there's nothing more boss than that. Saying that you deserve it and actually feeling like you deserve it. This has been a year. So 29, it's the start of caring for myself all the time, not just on my birthday. So hopefully this will be a trend if I can afford it.
Yes.
I love that.
Self-care is so important. And a lot of the bosses that we have on the show, I know I've said this before, they always talk about self-care.
Yes.
And
yes.
you have to make yourself a priority.
It's just like take a beat. I feel like we
Yes.
just don't do that. We're like constantly go, go, go and running. And now it's sort of the end of the year. Everything's slowing down. Well, for some people, I feel like, Malynda, your schedule's always insane.
Malynda never slows down.
I need to, though. I need to. Keep going.
But it just, I'm just going with, I'm feeling the end of the year out. And like, this is what I need. This is what I deserve. So that's how I was
Good
a boss.
for you.
Now, did you think of anything?
Well,
Malynda?
I did.
Okay.
And you guys saying that I need to slow down actually reminded me that I just got this, but I got an intern for January through June of next year. I know, I'm so excited. So she gets college credit for working for me, and it's going to be a blessing.
You know you've made it when you're like, I can hire an intern.
Now,
Well, she's getting college credit. I ain't paying her.
Well, here's the thing. How did you screen this intern? Do you see future boss potential in
It's
her?
through a college, actually. So a performing arts college that a friend of mine knows was like, hey, I actually know a girl that would be good to have an intern. So the professor contacted me and said, hey, we have some music business interns that are looking for college credit. I'm like, yes, please. Send me 5 if you can. I only get 1 though, but I'm excited. Yeah. So she starts working for me in January and show her the in and outs of my life, and hopefully it'll ease some of the stress that I have.
It will.
Yes, it will.
It will.
Megan?
So, you guys, I was a boss this week because, drum roll please, I got a new job.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. So I will be working full circle where it all began. Some of you know me. I won America's Funniest Videos as a kid, and now I'm actually going to be working back at America's Funniest Videos, working on their digital content and doing some on-camera stuff for them.
It's amazing.
I'm thrilled. So I start.
You deserve that. That's
Next-
great.
or this
I'm so
week.
excited.
And if
for that.
any of you haven't seen Megan's video, do we know what it's labeled on YouTube as?
It's called Christmas Kitty, even though I got the kitty for my birthday, but my mom had wrapped it in Christmas paper because that's probably all we had around the house.
Oh my gosh.
So everyone thought it was Christmas. So it kind of
I feel like I've seen it. I had to have seen it.
it pops up this time of year a lot because it's always in those compilation children
right.
getting pets for Christmas videos, and it's always like last year was on Cosmo, and it just keeps popping up.
And Megan looks exactly the
Exactly
same.
the
And
same.
I speak exactly the same. It's like I had this voice as an 8-year-old child.
Oh my god.
I did.
That's literally what she says. Oh my god! Oh my god!
I'm such a
Oh
turd.
my gosh.
I've seen the video. Clearly.
Oh my gosh,
I think we
I'm
need to
so
post
excited.
it on social media.
Yeah, I think
for,
we'll put
for
it
our
up.
followers.
Oh my gosh. It's one of those things that you just didn't know was going to define the rest of your life, and it literally did, and I'm really excited.
I
I'm
love
really
it.
excited. Yeah. Thank you
Congrats.
so much. Okay, so moving on, kind of branching off from that, what is your recipe for success?
Well, I personally feel like hard work is number one. I am probably one of the hardest working people that I know, and really that goes with any job. Like, I was the hardest working person in an ice cream shop. I was the hardest working person in retail. Like, you just have to have that mentality. So that's probably, I'd say, like 3 cups of that in my recipe. And then I'd also probably just say perseverance. You got to push through no matter what obstacles you face. And strength would probably be another really great thing in this recipe. I don't know. Like, being strong is so important across everything, because you gotta make sure that you're good, and strength helps carry through with whatever task you're set to put out. And,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think for me, getting this new job, for example, there was so much going on this year in my life, like bad. I was like, why am I working retail right now? Not that working retail is bad, but I had all these different jobs.
That's not for you.
And I was like, I felt like I hit rock bottom. But for me, the recipe to success is I don't care how many times I get knocked down, because it's been so many times. I always get back up, and you always have to get back up. If you have a dream, I'm getting really preachy right now, but if you have a dream, you deserve that dream. It was given to you for a reason. So all these hard times, every time you're getting knocked down, you think it's never going to happen for you, it is going to happen for you. You just have to keep standing back up. And that's my recipe. Just get back up.
I love that.
It's literally that simple.
I think there's two things that are really important to me. One is surrounding yourself with people that have the same type of ambition and drive as you. I think specifically in LA, it's very easy to be around people who say they're doing a certain occupation, but they're not really pushing themselves to make that their reality. And therefore, you could end up getting into just a Netflix and chill type of mentality where you're not actually doing anything. And then I think the other recipe is not having a plan B. I think if you know you're supposed to do something, don't have other options. There is no other option. That's for me. You can't make a plan B. You can't. If this is what you're supposed to do, go do it.
Because you
Figure
can't
out how to do
manifest
it.
that plan B.
You can't.
Because you need plan A.
Amen.
Plan A is it.
We're some strong women up in here.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
We're stubborn.
And speaking of strong women, you guys, I'm excited. We have a chef coming on board, and we're going to talk to her about, she started her own restaurant, this soul food African restaurant. I'm so excited to talk to her. So we'll be back in a minute.
Yeah.
Hey bosses, welcome back. We are so excited to be here right now with Gladys Nyoth. Gladys is the founder of this amazingly conceptualized African restaurant, Bumbo. She's originally from Paris, but had this vision of soul food and connection, and she wanted to bring it all to reality. So happy to have you here, Gladys.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
So I just want to hear about this from the beginning, because I looked it up online, but I want to hear what your initial vision was for this restaurant and how it works.
Okay. Yes. So Bumbo, my baby Bumbo. It's kind of like you see it grow, you see it fall and trip, and you're like, one day it will walk and run and become a leader in the world. But it started about 5 years ago. Out of wanting to own authorship of my life, coming here from France and wanting to, practice some sort of leadership towards the African diaspora, I wanted to do it in different platforms, whether it was through, my career as an actress or my career as a scientist. I just wanted to just have a platform. And within some circumstances that I went through as an immigrant and having some of the doors shut, I was like, I need to keep on doing it. And as I was actually starting a new position in a restaurant, I saw the magic that took place in the restaurant business, and how people just bring people together and create this humane kind of experience. And I was just like, I'm going to do that, but like on crack. And so I wanted to basically have a conceptual restaurant that aims to bridge the gap between the Western world and Africa through my story, which is, like being of West African, like coming from West African parents and having a West African heritage, and also showing the beauty of Africa. That it's not just what the media display, poverty or diseases or corruption. That is also a lot of beautiful treasures. And there's something beautiful about having people come together over dinner, or if we're just like eating together and having conversations, and for one night we just become human again. And so I started to do that with the combination of performing arts. So it's typically a dinner that's from 30 to 50, sometimes 150 people, and we have a course that kind of display the culinary treasures of the motherland. But in the middle of it too, there is surprise performances that takes place around the table, like drummers come out of nowhere or dancers, or it's always something that really bring that intimacy with people. And so I've done that first as a way to present my concept, because I thought I was going to have a brick and mortar. And then as the pop-up movement started to become bigger and bigger, I was like, why don't I just make it a nomadic restaurant? And it's actually way much more, like, it's just, there's more fun to it. I love that there is also a certain level of projection to know where I'm going with it versus the, you know, risk factors that sometimes you go through as a restaurateur. So it's like, wait a second, like, out of necessity, I actually came up with a structure that was perfect with the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So it was a win-win.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So for our listeners that don't know, what does African cuisine consist of?
Well, here's the thing. It's actually really diverse, and that's the reason why I wanted to really represent all the 54 countries of the continent. And it depends by, like, according to each region. For instance, in, like, the northern region, like, when you have countries such as Algeria, Tunisia, it's really close to, like, a Mediterranean style as far as their cuisine. Almost similar to also Greek. It's light. There's a lot of flavors that goes with, like, cumin, nutmeg, cinnamon, but it also has its own little je ne sais quoi. And then you have West Africa, that to me, honestly, the only way I can compare it is almost like an earthy, spicy version of Thai food, because there's a lot of stews, and it's really it's filled with flavors, and then you usually have like a side dish that is neutral, and that's usually used as a edible utensil. So, like, there's this thing called fufu that looks like elastic mashed potato. That's really neutral in flavor, but we use it to dip each pieces into the stew to eat it. So it's really about the stew versus, like, the fufu.
I see.
And then in East Africa, you also you surprisingly have a lot of influence from India. There's a lot of Indian flavors and a lot of Indian dishes in places like Tanzania or Kenya or Ethiopia. Even, like, the Ethiopian food is almost sometimes have, like, the similarity of, like, Indian with the flat, you know, sour bread, and the way the colors and sometimes the flavors. And then South Africa also has its own cuisine, but it starts becoming more of a hybrid of a region. It still has its own signature dishes, and I'm still discovering as I'm going, because my family's from Cameroon, so I had to, my focal point was West Africa. And then growing up also around a lot of people from Northern Africa, I started to also bring that in. And then East Africa was more of a discovery as I started to travel more, and now I'm starting to hunt down the southern, you know, part of Africa. So it's also a discovery too. There's a lot of thing that I'm still also learning, because something also that is important for me is that I want to make sure that there's more documentation of our heritage and our culture, because most of the cultures historically were transferred verbally. So if we're not careful, you know, a lot of recipes starts dying down from generation to generation. So it's also like a torch to take.
Yes, of course. Yeah. How many pop-ups have you done so far? And when was your first one?
I don't even remember at this point, which is a good thing.
Yes, that is a good thing.
But it's probably close to, I would say, 20 to 25.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all memorable and unique in their own way, but is there one that stood out to you that was like, this is why I do this? I'm sure every time, but, like, do you have one story or one particular person you met that was like, I'm so moved and changed by this?
I think that it's been kind of recently, as I'm furthering the vision, the feedback are changing. So it went from, oh my God, I've never tasted something like that, it's good, it's delicious, it's unique, to now I'm hearing people saying, I taste the love. I taste the intention, I taste your story. Or, like, somebody told me, I don't know why it made me emotional, but we had this really simple plate. It wasn't even like African food, but it was a bunch of heirloom tomatoes. And I was teaching people the concept of mindful consumption and going back to basics, and really taking the time to look at these different colors in those tomatoes, and balancing the amount of salt that people were putting, and to also see the difference in the taste according to the color. And so then someone was like, oh my God, I'm starting to taste the colors of those tomatoes. And it was just so beautiful that now we can also say such thing as, I'm tasting the colors of my food. And I think it's beautiful to stop time and have people just say, hey, let's just be.
Yeah,
And
it's beautiful.
Where did your passion for food come from?
I think I've always been hospitable. You know, I just remember like going to college for physics and having everything shut down. And I was like, no, because, you know, I was actually for a moment illegally here as an immigrant. So I didn't have all the privileges that most people have. And I was like, I know I can do something with who I am. Like, I don't have to accomplish something. Maybe it can start out of nothing. And something that I love to do is just to make people feel comfortable. Like, be someone who entertains, make people laugh. I'm such a goofball. And it's so funny that just being can actually lead us to the specific career that we want. Because, you know, like, I'm like, oh, I'm hospitable. What can I do? And it doesn't really come right away. And I'm like, wait, why don't I just start this chef career? And then,
well, you're a girl boss. Not many. Sometimes people don't make that connection, but because you're a boss, that you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Are you finding? I'm so intrigued by this. I want to go. I'm sorry. Thank you, love. I literally covered my mouth because I got so excited. And Jill was like, Megan, people aren't gonna be able to hear you. But are you finding too with these pop-ups that you're getting a lot of diversity coming? Because I've never experienced African.
Yes, actually, it's sometimes people ask what kind of profile do you get from your guest, and at first it actually was a lot of Asians, which actually makes sense because Asian cuisine is really diverse and they're really bold in their flavors. There's no filter. Like there's no such thing as safe. Like they do everything and nothing with each ingredient that they're choosing. So it actually makes sense, and most of them will be like, you know what, this looks weird and intriguing. Let me try. But it's always, that's the beautiful part of it. It's really, really diverse, and it kind of reiterate the concept that I am moving forward every single day.
Do you think that your sort of like immigrant mentality helped you? Because I'm finding that with a lot of people that have come over, the work ethic and their willingness to just drive and plow through things is never ending.
It does help. It helps also depending on your background. I think that I was born and raised in France, but my family always made sure that we were really immersed with our culture. And there's a lot of evolved place in Africa. Unfortunately, when it came to my family, we were in a place where we didn't have all the resources. So growing up as a first generation French girl, you see everything that's offered to you. Then you go to America, and there's more abundance. And there's something about being deprived while being in front of all those resources where you're like, how do I get that? Because you come, I think that when you're born into it, you don't see it because it's just there. It's natural. But when you see what's out there in the world and you step out, you're like, some people, I used to always say, like, some part of my family don't know what it is to go to a movie and enjoy popcorn, and they died not knowing that. And to be here where it's like, it's a what? Popcorn in movie? That's normal. It's not for a lot of people in this world. So it just humbles you, and it also makes you it made me feel more in touch with humanity. And I was like, I get to spread that as much as I can, because I don't think that the equation is complete until you realize that your life is also meant to serve others. Not to even be cliche, but it's actually almost like a physics law.
Sure.
You know,
and that makes sense.
You know physics.
Yeah. Exactly. So I've learned the spiritual aspect of science too. And that's
when you made the transition, how was it going from sort of that physics training to now this chef training? And is it the same mindset? Is it different?
There is some similarity. I mean, something that I didn't have as an actress was discipline, because you're kind of like, I'm an artist, following the more or less. It's still work ethics, but I think that it helped. Physics actually helped me later on when I started to do infusion food with cannabis, because there's actually a really funny story about how I got into cannabis. I basically adopted the model fake it till you make it, and then it happened.
Listen, all three of us
That's
know
amazing.
that all too well.
It's great. But it was actually, I feel like the restaurant was actually the missing link, because there was a lot about me that I felt like I didn't have until the restaurant like really stretched me into places that I didn't even know was part of my life. Like a big thing was scarcity. I always had this scarcity mentality that I didn't have enough to create what I wanted to create. And when you start a restaurant, the first thing that people talk about is money discussion. You need to have this, you need to have that. And coming from a place where my scarcity was deeply rooted, it was the worst start, because funny enough, I feel like the universe has a way to test you to see how susceptible you are to it. And as a woman, I don't know what I did, but I started to attract a lot of perverted investors that just thought, this woman wants money, I have it, let's play, and enroll her into wanting to support. And I was like, I thought it was so ridiculous. There was a moment where it was just that, and I looked up and say, wait, is this what I should do? And what was actually more surprising was how people were actually believing that reality. They're like, who cares? Just do it once. Like, just sleep with, but just get the money and get over it. I was like, wait, what?
And like, how timely is that right now with all these sexual misconduct things that are coming out? And even so, like, there have been a couple instances in the restaurant world where we've seen, these like really notable chefs abusing their staff. But this crazy. Is like fascinating.
And it's actually crazy that some people really think that this is how we go up the ladder, that we sleep our way up. And like, I know that there was a time I worked at this establishment that's really reputable, one of the top bars in the world. And it was not even like, to be a bartender there, like, you have to like show that after God, it's you, right? And I was just a cocktail server, but you still had to have a certain knowledge of the post-prohibition cocktails. And all that time, people were convinced that I had slept with one of the owner of the sister bar to be there. And I'm like, why would I do that? Right. Really? For a position? But that's what people think, you know? Yep. And God forbid if you have a certain look and then people just like, of course. And it's like, really? So even like connection with beauty, I did not want to have anything to do with it. And it sucks, the trauma that happens, when just as a woman, like it's its own journey to be a woman. And
so how did you overcome that? You're getting this is happening to you. Like, how are you?
I think it was I started to see the power in community and seeing other example of women that did it without that reality. And also I got to a place where I was literally physically, emotionally hungry for it. And also I was hungry for my own integrity, that it spoke for me when I did not know what to do. And at some point, I think that the test was over, and then I started to attract the right people, whether it was women or men who were really respectable. And I think that what was also beautiful was that they knew that I wasn't like straight from like business school, but they saw themselves in me. Sure. I think that you have two different kind of successful people that got, like that went through the easy road, and whether it's like inheriting someone's wealth, but you also have some people that started out of nothing and they can recognize the similarity. And one of the first investor that came to me, he said, you should be really happy to start from nothing, because you know how it feels to have nothing. A lot of people that don't, that's how they get greedier, and that's how corruption takes place in the world, because they are so afraid to live a world without what defines them. And that's when the good stuff started to come. That's beautiful. When I took the decision to not let anything outside of myself define who I am, that's when That's when the magic started to go
Yeah.
from my think.
You are hysterical. I love that so much.
What does your family think about what you do?
Well, you know, all West African parents are dramatic, and they're like, "What is that?" Like my mother. I mean, my mother is the leading person in my family. Like, she was a single mother raising me and my twin brother. She has always been supportive, but she's always been scared. I mean, I came here by myself at the age of 15.
15.
Yeah, so
Girl.
there's a lot that can happen, and it's like two things. You either love your kids so much that you just want them to go after their dreams, or you just don't care. And she was always scared, like, okay, so now you quit physics for a restaurant. I have the money for it, but go.
Yeah.
But I still saw her being supportive, and then when she started to see the fruit, she was like, I didn't even know you could do it. Like, I've never seen someone who has that much faith in herself and just in general, and that was good to also be that example for her. Yeah,
That's lovely. Wow, I'm so inspired right now. That's awesome, girl. That is awesome.
So you have this sort of restaurant in motion, we'll call it. What is the pipe dream? You know, where do you see this going?
I really wanted to be kind of like the culinary version of Cirque du Soleil, like to really go and bring indigenous and African cuisines to the mainstream, and just bring is when you see people's reaction, when you see people crying, it's just like, I feel like there's something that's missing in the hospitality industry. Everybody's now after like the best chef, and it's becoming really egocentric. And sometimes I get that, because, you know, like, I feel like my never-ending story as a minority has been like, you always have to prove yourself, and that's like, it's actually not the case. Like, it's really but I really want to. I just want to make sure that African cuisines gets its place to literally the table, because it hasn't really been as popular as it should be. So just touring and make it even more transformational, where people have literally like breakthroughs through those dinner, like transforming people back to a basic level of being.
You want it to be a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Your mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to get when they sit down to eat your meal.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
So where can the people sit down to eat your meal?
Well, right now I've been going through a little hold, because it's such an unconventional concept that now I'm trying to also make sense out of it. Like, I think now it's time for me to have a base in LA, where it can be an experimental space for me and other chefs that wants to do the same. I'm also at the same time working also with Tastemade as a tastemaker, and I'm also trying to see how we can maximize that partnership, because it's also a beautiful platform to keep on spreading the African flavor. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, next is kind of like structure. Like, I went from being a wild butterfly with a wild, crazy dream to now making sure that I still have a backbone, because it's coming to a level where now people are saying, okay, who is she, and what's her story, what's her foundation? And it can no longer just be like a story made out of love and water.
Right.
It has to be now like, I'm still, if you want to put me on a test, she's a really amazing chef, or her restaurant still has structure. It's not your traditional structure, but it works. It has a formula. Because I also think that once we find that formula, it can also invite other people that have been dreaming to have a restaurant to do the same. Like, you don't have to have $500,000 or $2 million to do that. You can just start from the same concept and do whatever you want. Whether it's performing art and tribal food, or cannabis and tribal food, or, I don't know, spa, pedicure, manicure.
Whatever it is.
It all
Sky's the
sounds
limit.
fantastic. Yeah. But be sure to let us know as soon as that restaurant in LA opens, because we wanna come and we wanna try it.
Yes.
We wanna talk about it, and we'll do another interview, and we'll talk. We'll literally have a podcast as we're eating the cuisine. It's gonna be amazing.
We're doing a New Year's Eve celebration to bring people again back to seeing the whole concept in full version. Because especially on New Year's Eve, I realized that the nightlife here in Hollywood, LA, suck blue balls. Just a bunch of clubs charging people $300 an entrance for some diluted cranberry juice. Can we stop scamming people?
Oh my gosh.
If you're gonna transition, just do it with just do it organically with the people. Have some food,
right.
Do it the African style, just like beignets, oxtail. Who wants some? What do you want? Do you want some cognac? Hey, Bobo, come here.
I love
Bring
that.
the plantain for that. What do you like? Just like having this
yes.
warmth and family oriented, especially here. Like a lot of people just come from different places, so it's like just to have something like, oh my God, I connected with people and even start with a new tribe, like new friends from that, versus like I don't even remember. All I know is I was like throwing up.
Sure. Hey, you're talking to these, all of us here. We are not those New Year's kind of girl. We totally would rather do New Year's with you, girl. That's how I want to live my New Year's.
Well, this has been awesome. Your energy is like
great. It's so great.
So magnetic. I feel like I learned so much. I feel like I want to eat your food now.
Yes.
I've bought into you. Now I need to buy into your food. And yeah, you
Where
guys.
can we find you on social media?
You can. I don't. I still have to. I'm still clumsy when it comes to that. But I have an. It's a struggle. I have an Insta profile, Lady Nyoth. So it's Lady, and then my last name Nyoth. I also have the Bumbo's handle, Bumbo Restaurant at Bumbo Restaurant. And also you can also find me doing the most via Tastemade.
That's
my
amazing.
Dysfunctional recipes.
Well, we'll be sharing those videos.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on.
you,
And
ladies.
can't wait to be at your restaurant. All right, everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Boss Please Pod. And don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe on iTunes. Navigate the path to your best self with us, because bossing together is always better.